We're dropping knowledge on GRAMBO grows, talking about plants and how they go. Let's go. From seeds to the cure, we always smoke pure. Nothing but good vibes up in here. We blaze the ganja, keep it fire. GRAMBO grows, burning desire. Learn about cultivation, step by step, new kids. I got the negativity, cannabis vibes on it. GRAMBO grow, rhymes up here. Grow, vibe with you now.
Guys, if you are a fan of growing, toking, smoking, the plant that we all love here, growing cannabis, talking cannabis, smoking cannabis, you are in the right place. Welcome to the Late Night Smoke. Your last chance for, I always say it's the back of the bus. We're chilling in the back of the bus. We're taking one-y hits. The bus driver's like, the hell's going on back there? YouTube's driving the bus, and we're just back here just like, nothing, bro. Just mind your own business. We're just hanging out, doing our thing. So, guys, it's an awesome Sunday. It's been a crazy little time. We had not a grower, but a stand-up comedian on last week, Papa Jr. Thank you guys we had Rusta Jeff on last week. My brain's going a million different directions. Shout out to Dude Grows Show's been kicking ass. Thank you guys for all sharing that episode yesterday. It is rocking over there. Dude Grows 3.0 is back. We got deleted at 95,000, so come say hi over there. And shout out to those guys. Proud of the boys for sticking with it. It's tough when we're getting deleted. We are in the can apocalypse, y'all. So if you love cannabis content, hit the subscribe button because if you don't, it's not just this might be your last chance to find us. It might just banish us to the phantom realm. But if you hit subscribe, that helps boost not only me but the whole cannabis content creators. It's a weird thing. You used to sub and then YouTube would show you stuff. Now it just shows you stuff. And if you're not subscribed, then it won't show you our controversial material. And it's definitely going to be some controversial material up in here tonight. And not controversial in the sense of political, but controversial in the sense of we're gonna talk the real history of one of my favorite strains ever. It's been one of my most kind of pride-taking things that I love getting to meet all the different content creators, all the different growers around the world. But, it's awesome to meet the people behind the strains. I reminisce, one of my favorite strains is Chem 4. And hanging out with P-Bud Mike and, hearing the real story about, how did it come across? What was the Chem D? How did the Chem 4 come in? And it was amazing hanging out with Fletcher from Archive and being able to talk about the Moonbow. And which eventually is going to be turned into the GRAMBO strain. Serious Seeds is still working out there. The GMO times the Moonbow and the blueberry pancake. He's out there somewhere. He might be lurking. And so that was amazing. Talking with Crockett Family Farms about the Tangy. Getting to the bottom of these strains. Hanging out with Adam Dunn and being offered, hey, GRAMBO, you want a dab of the sage? And I go, Would I like to dab Adam Dunn sage? Of course I would. And so it's an honor to be able to actually hang out with the people who put in the work. It gets overlooked. People think, I always say with content on YouTube, people think that the content fairy just shows up and like, boom, here's all your stuff. But behind the scenes, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of mental energy and a lot of physical time. And I love that people actually are starting to appreciate that. And along with the breeders and on Dude Grow Show, Know Your Breeder should be coming back at some point. I don't know when exactly, but you guys know. We're in the can apocalypse. We don't know what we can show and what we can't show, what we can talk about, what we can't talk about. So we're trying to play as close to the middle as humanly possible. And so it's an honor today to track down one of the. It's funny, like when you're in the know about things, like people that know about sour diesel, it's like, oh yeah, I got the AJ cut, it goes all the way back. And so like when you're in the know, you kind of, we always talk about in the YouTuber kind of growth businessy world, there's all the buzzwords, and we call this one the curse of knowledge, because you know something, you kind of assume that everybody knows about these things. And I was obsessed with this strain Lemon G. It was it was one of those things that it took, the rotten fruit with the fuely kind of just nasty back end. And it was one of those things that I remember, as in the mid 2000 teens, as that was rolling up to me as I was leaving Iowa and coming into, and I'd always find it in Iowa. And then I got to Colorado and it's much more rare. And I was like, I wonder what the deal with that is. And you go to the record. I ask you guys a question. Who is keeping the record of cannabis? Who is out there? Like, do we have a source like Cannapedia? I think that's a thing. So like, who's keeping track of the actual lineage of these genetics? And I think that's us here on YouTube. We're the documentarians. It's weird. We just feel like stoners talking on camera right now. But I think someday this will all go down, between from the Stash guys, from I Can THC to Strange Show Matt to the Grow Tent guys, Can of Cribs, Top Bottom, Mr. Canuck, everyone. I think this will be the documentarian of what was going down. And so when you go to like Leafly, who's like, they're the documentarian of like, well, what happens on Leafly? That's what it is, right? I remember I'd go ahead, search Lemon G, and it would say things like this mysterious cultivar, the unknown roots. And it's since changed, but this was 7-8 years ago when you're reading about it, and the mysterious cultivar. Well, God, where did it come from? And some people hint that the roots were from Ohio. Ohio, holy shit, right? And then it comes into focus. Weeds become normalized, and now the people who were behind these things, who are talking with my guest here tonight before. It's like, as you guys know, I went from telling no one about my grow to telling everyone about our grow. There was a time, especially out there in the Midwest, me being from Iowa, her being from Ohio. There was a time you didn't, it was omerta. That was the thing, keeping your mouth shut. That is all it was. And so now we're finally able to come out of the shadows. Thank God for the normalization of cannabis, watching prohibition fall down one brick at a time. And so I was on Instagram and just knowing people and meeting people. I come across this woman who seems to know the story, the real story. And so I reached out, and she saw, I threw a message in a bottle, and I threw it out in the waters of Instagram, and she saw it. And, like Tom Hanks on an island. She sent a life preserver of knowledge, and we're going to get to the bottom of it tonight. So guys, welcome my guest, the secret hand behind one of my favorite strains. Coy, I've been talking about Lemon G on this show for years, the whole time. Yeah. Dude grows for years. Everyone knows one of GRAMBO's favorite strains, and I'm actually quite honored to meet you. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, yes. I brought some indoor lemon colas to look at for show and tell.
I love one of my favorite things about
foxtail.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's always whenever someone says like, "Oh, I grew the Lemon G," it's like, was she ugly? And they go, "Oh yeah, she was ugly."
Oh yeah,
good. That was the real stuff then. Yeah. I love the fact that it's not, the standard bulbous trichome.
Yeah, I mean, it could be trimmed a little better, but.
Women. That's
yeah, no, I mean, and then it's a weird looking plant. It definitely is. And it's hard to trim. There's been like songs written about how hard it is to trim. So.
I love it. It's because it is one of those things that I'll always give, like on my main videos. I made a video of like how to find good weed at a dispensary, and I give like really counterintuitive advice, like go find the lowest THC thing they sell. Because if it's taking up real estate, it's probably because it's like good weed, And so same thing. If it doesn't check all the boxes, it's like an award winning, a national. That's the thing about our industry. There are awards that you can win for your cannabis, but really the fact that you have become a national. I consider like Lemon G up there with the greats, the cookies, the sour diesels.
Oh yeah,
OG
I feel like it's international for sure. It's international. People know about it in Holland and stuff. So, and
I love it.
Had a pretty humble roots, Southwest Ohio, to make it all the way around the world like that is pretty damn cool, I think.
It speaks to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the lineage, the mother plant, the one that had the seeds for the lemon G was Misty and Early Skunk, which was from Nirvana seeds. They released it as Early Misty. And then the male is the G13 pollen. We used to get the G13 seeds from our friends in Kentucky that routinely grew the G13 outside. They had big open ridges and they liked it because it was short and they could grow it kind of on the side of the ridges where the helicopters wouldn't see it very well, and I get a lot of people ask me, like, how did the G13 have pollen? We don't think the G13 had a male originally because it was supposed to have come from the research facility for the government in Mississippi, right? So, but all I knew was that the G13 seeds came from our friends in Kentucky. I can trace that back to Washington State. So that's as far back as I can trace, like, where they actually came from. Doing more research now, it seems like it could have been a G13 times hash plant, which would have been one of the seed stock that Neville had and a lot of people in Ohio had at the time. Part of it was just our underground network, right? Like our culture was to not ask too many questions about somebody's source of something because that was rude, like you don't need to know, so you don't know. So, it didn't occur to me to try to trace down where the G13 came from ever. But now people are asking about it, so we've been trying to find out more about it. And I recently found out that this guy, Carl Hilling, was growing the G13 or had a sample of it at the Bloomington University in Indiana, right? So Bloomington, Indiana is not 100 miles or so from where we were on Southwest Ohio. And it's probably even closer to our friends in Kentucky because we were all on that western side of the state. So it's possible that maybe the G13 variety that the guys in Kentucky had, they got from this Carl Hilling guy or some source. But he was doing a research project, kind of mapping different types of cannabis. And he was working with a guy named Paul, what was it, Malberg. But the guy he was working with was one of only two people that were licensed by the DEA in the 80s to grow cannabis. So did this guy get this G13 cut from Mississippi? Did it somehow end up in Washington State? I'm not sure. But if anybody else is out there listening and they have more information, inbox me, let me know, because I'm really trying to get to the bottom of it. Earlier,
there's a whole nother tale as she's weaving here. If you guys don't know the story of G13, I suggest you look into that. That's a whole nother.
So the G13, and the thing about stories and cannabis, I met this guy one time and he's like, "Oh, you're from Ohio. All of you are full of stories." Well, of course we are. Of course we're full of stories, because if we weren't full of stories, we probably would have gotten in some sort of trouble, right?
Right.
Who's going to have all the truth out there? So
and
to
in
me,
the noise,
the G13
somewhere in
origin,
there is the truth.
Huh?
I say, and then everyone's telling stories, but then in the noise is the truth.
Right. So somewhere in there is the background story, right? But I don't know if it was the 80s and I had gone to Afghanistan or had a friend that came back from there and they had access to these great genetics. I'm not going to tell people that, No. Hell no. I'm going to get that story as far away from me, the origin, as I possibly can. So, it maybe was from the Pacific Northwest, right? But it also came to us by way of Washington State and Kentucky family. So,
yeah, I love because the Emerald Triangle, the Washington in general, and then Colorado, they get a lot of the glory. But I love just learning about all the stuff that's come from places you wouldn't expect. Like a lot of people's favorite strains are from Florida and Ohio, and where I'm from as well. I always talk about the good old boys network I came from. I grew up thinking everyone was growing and their families were growing, and this was just normal. And it wasn't until I got to Colorado and kind of mixed with people from all around the country and realized, like, oh God, I existed in this little pocket of people who kind of were plugged into this region's game, and it ran, and we were just quiet. So yes, like she said, if you guys can track down any of these leads, this is the funnest part about this sort of stuff. Is you're the first person that really vocalized it perfectly. It was rude. It wasn't even, it's just like, you didn't need to know.
Everybody talks about the dumpster. I'm going to throw that out there. Another Ohio legend strain, right? Is the dumpster. Supposedly it was found in a dumpster at OSU, right? Like, who the hell throws away a plant? And if you're growing plants, are you going to take one out of a dumpster? What? Why is it in there? Did it have mold? Did it have mildew? Why was it in there? I sure as hell wouldn't take home a plant from a dumpster.
20 years ago, you might have,
I don't know. I mean, I might have, or I might have gotten it from somewhere really fucking secret and then made up a story about the dumpster,
Yes. And that's why doing the detective work of this, of like, now it's okay, we're all getting older now. I was 13 when I'm learning about all this, and now it's just like,
statute of limitations are gone.
And it's over. I always talk about like medical marijuana specifically has 70% approval rate in America. Name anything with a 70% approval rate. Cannabis might be the number one supported thing in this goddamn country.
Yeah.
We can come out of the shadows.
Well, and it's one of the oldest propagated crops ever, it's hard for people to not have a relationship with cannabis. It's something that people have had a relationship for thousands of years. So,
thousands might not.
And when they did legalize cannabis,
it might be hundreds of thousands, honestly.
Yeah, very likely. Yeah, especially, did you see that fossil of the cannabis plant from China? Is that not fucking cool? So I'm a rock nerd anyway, but that's
we show things on the Dude Grow show, and we always go, "Whoa, man! I hope it's not AI." So you see these things.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I think it's really a plant or a fossil that they found. They find fern fossils and stuff.
We've crossed that line where, like, I believe, I see that and I go, "Oh wow, that's a thing." But then there's that part of me. I go, would I be shocked if I found out tomorrow that nothing was real? I suppose I would. So that's why this is important. The human documentation, the humans, you can't just type it into a browser and get an answer. Those days are over, if they ever even really existed. Because as you said, was the dumpster found in a dumpster? Probably not. That is a great story. It tastes like a dumpster, and so they came up. They're spinning yarns, and
it tastes like to me. It tastes like an Afghani cross, maybe like an Afghani pineapple, or some sort of like, I don't know. It has that like kind of pillowy blonde, lime green, and it got like a regular size of the plants we would have indoors, and it wasn't like an out of control or like a long tall sativa or anything like that.
So. Those immediately started. I made a video about like people trying to sell you a 55% sativa hybrid and be like, "Oh, it's a sativa." It's not. You guys don't even understand what you're talking about. You have to go so far back, but you cross into that threshold. I just missed that era of the pre-Dutch crossing, in the 70s. The Dutch went nuts, started crossing everything to try to get it indoorsy and everything. But there's that generation just above me, my friend's brother that got me smoking weed. He would tell the tales of that old, Afghani stuff and the old sativa. Oh, we get some Jamaican, we get some hash in from there. And
or like the strains from Pakistan and stuff. Yeah. Oh, well, dude, they were indicas, the Pakistan ones were, but
Yes.
But
Yes.
back when everything had its own character,
Yes.
I
And now
grew
it's
an old skunk a couple of summers ago, and it had a lot of like the 1 and the 3 leaves that were really long. And it looked
okay.
like 2 skunk tails. The whole plant did. And one of our friends came over that's like kind of a new school indoor grower guy, and he was like, "What is that?" Because it just looks so
Yes.
different from all of
Look, it's
these hybrid
unhealthy.
varieties that we have
It's
now.
throwing 3 fingers.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
Yeah.
You got a pH problem.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's like exactly perfect the way that it was. And it came from
Which
Todd
is
McCormick, by the way. Shout out to
okay.
AGC Authentic Genetics. He has some good shit over there. That's like really, authentic old school genetics. So,
Which is one of the reasons that I love the lemon G is like it doesn't tick all the like nowadays it has to look pretty, it has to test high, it has to
yeah,
yada yada yada, what name your things. But back in the day before the internet, we just found the things that were the things, and then those things
yeah,
naturally kind
yeah,
of caught on fire because they were awesome. And
yeah.
so
The things are
I
like the
opened about talk
smell, the stickiness. Those
the
are the things
effects,
that
the
are the most
flavor.
important about herb.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so I opened by talking about how it would talk about the mysterious roots of lemon G. And then when I first DM'd you about this, it turns out it was a little bit, well, I was the one that left it in there. I
Yeah.
go, all
Yeah.
right, so
I'm
this
the one
isn't
that
as
named
cut and
it.
dry.
Well,
It is a little bit more crazy. So definitely,
yeah.
guys, look into the G13 thing. And if anyone has any information on that, let's put these
Right. So
together.
the information that I have that's new about G13 is that
All
they were
right.
definitely doing a research paper that included G13 in 1993 in the
Okay.
southeast corner of Indiana at Bloomington University. Along
Okay.
with hash plant. Like there was a whole list. I read the 20-page research paper today,
Oh,
trying to find
damn.
out what. Yeah, because and it says that the G13 came from the seed bank in Holland, which is Neville. It listed all the sources of the different varieties. The point of Carl Hilling's paper wasn't about G13 specifically, but it was about more about the nomenclature of how cannabis is defined, and that he thought that it needed to have more separate definitions. Like right now, we only kind of have 1 or 2. And he
Okay.
thinks that there should be a lot of different ones. But they were like mapping specific familiar genomes in the different cannabis varieties that he had, but they also had their like street names, like hash plant was in there, and he
Right.
traced the G13 and the hash plant both back to Afghanistan roots is where he said they were coming
Okay.
from. But all the different ones that came from different regions, there's like a big graph in there. It's a really cool article. But to me, the cool thing was that it was from 1993, because I thought that they were only doing research on cannabis in Mississippi. And here, these guys in Bloomington, with some grant from a seed bank in Holland, are devoting time with one of their botanists to map all of these different genes of cannabis plants and how
Mm.
they're familiar from different areas of the world. And that's really cool information that you can kind of nerd out on and check out. And it talks about
Wow.
the seed bank is one of the main sources. There's that other seed bank in Amsterdam. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh, it was labeled like SSCDS. I'm gonna remember it in a minute, but I'll have to think
Mm.
about it. But it was just like cool to think about the fact that all of these different varieties were around. Some of them even in the early '80s that we're thinking about. Um, and I've been talking to this other guy that is a veteran, and he has some roots in Kentucky and some roots in the Emerald Triangle of California. And these roots run deep. I just want you to know, like over here in Athens, where we are, we're like the Humboldt of the East Coast. except that our nutty university, instead of Berkeley, we have Ohio University here, and our grows were mostly done south of here in Meigs County, but also Vinton County, Washington County. There's a lot of old growers in these hills, and they're connected to some of the ones on the West Coast. Like, for instance, Jack Hare, well, Hare, you will know who Jack is. He wrote The Emperor Wears No Clothes. He mentions Athens, Ohio in the credits of his book. He mentions a few specific people from OU, one of them being Kevin Morgan, who's a well-known artist here. But these roots run deep and the ties bind us, right? So it's not that unusual that genetics might travel from Washington State or from California back over here to our niche, you know? Ohio has some kick-ass fucking weed, dude. Like, I've been to Amsterdam, I've been all over this place, and they don't have anything on Ohio. They fucking don't, dude. You know, like, occasionally I'll be like, where's your good stuff? And they'll be like, where are you from? You know, and I'm like, Ohio.
Yeah. The problem is that it's so diffused. The bigger markets, you know, like, I'm all high on my horse about Denver, you know, it's like, oh, the cannabis capital of the world. Come on, you know. But then people are challenging that left, right, if it was ever even true. But the Midwest, now that's because it was so omerta. You came, it was like your best. I had this family that I grew up, they were my next door neighbors, met them when we were 3 years old. I'm still friends with them till this day. And it was like, you know, you didn't tell anyone until you knew everyone. Everyone was blood. They were old school. You knew their grandparents, you knew their you know, everyone was mixed up. And everyone was in this game. Your parents, ask your parents. If you're older than 30, ask your parents. If they're from the Midwest, they were probably involved in weed or other things, because the 70s and 80s were it was a fun time. I wasn't there for it, but I hear the legends and I go, damn, I just missed it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a crossroads here, you know. We're not quite in the heart of it all, like our motto is, but we're pretty centric, you know. A lot of stuff goes through here.
That's what I said I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, and right at the crossroads of I-80 and 235. And it's like, oh, well, it makes sense that a lot of drugs, a lot of things came through that crossroads of America. And so it's not surprising we had that little thing. And so, these little pockets of old-timey weed growing folk, you know. And I love those vibes. I love all of it. I saw you were on with P Bud Mike on one of the shows over on, and we should shout out
Craft Growers Network.
If you guys don't
so I do a Women of Weed podcast, but also sometimes I join Gabby on his weed stories, and that's a lot of fun because it's just like this. It's like catching up, putting the puzzle pieces together, just telling old stories about the weed days and or like the days from our youth, and it's fun. That's a lot of fun. We do the Women of Weed podcast on Wednesdays. So
okay, every Wednesday, you guys, or at least every other Wednesday.
Most Wednesdays, most
again, sometimes the content fairy doesn't drop off the content when you know, I fell off. I did like 40 weeks in a row or something like that, and now I've missed like 6 this year, and I was like, oh man, sometimes it just doesn't line up. So definitely follow over there. I know you guys are always looking for new cannabis content. It's one of the things I was talking about. Like, everyone does the subscribe. Hey guys, subscribe. But on a normal YouTube world, it just shows you stuff. You don't have to subscribe. It's a vanity metric. But in cannabis, legitimately, like, you know, we say the wrong thing, and this episode goes to the shadow realm, and then you don't get it. So subscribe over there. Definitely, it helps out. Craft Growers Network, really easy to find. They're almost at 5,000, so you guys got to go subscribe. Let's get them over 5,000 tonight.
Let's get over the 5,000. Yeah,
let's go. It's always those little hurdles. 10,000 is the hardest. Once you get to 10,000, then everyone thinks you're legitimate. You know, it's funny. I had one video do really good. One video I've been putting out with Dude Grows, Jug Dealers, and this channel. I put out like 7 or 8 cannabis videos a week for 3 years. One video does good. All my friends back home are like, "Oh, hey, Al, you're like really doing stuff." It's any video is a fluke, you know. They send us out, they don't send us out, whatever. But the actual grind is what's important. And so 128 videos, almost a 5K. Love it. We're in the can apocalypse.
We are.
I know you feel it.
We have to think about that stuff, you guys. Couple of important things from the girl who never shuts up about politics, especially important cannabis politics. Call your congressman, call your senator, tell them to support home grow and seed sales. They're trying to carve out a niche for hemp beverages and the Farm Bill right now. Tell them that seeds are essential. Without the preservation of seed stock and seed sales, we will lose all of our heritage strains of cannabis. So please take a couple minutes. Call your
It's one
senator.
Of the things I always talk about on this show. I don't believe in conspiracies. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but the conspiracy I do believe in is them convincing us that one person with a loud voice can't make a change. And that's bullshit.
I know
you can be that people. And if we get a whole bunch of people being that person,
that's what we need.
No one cares. They don't actually care. Like the people in government, they get like pulled in a direction. They don't actually care. Like the last hearing about like seeds and THCA, no one even showed up. They don't actually care. So if we get loud, they'll be like, "Oh, well, I want to be seen supporting the most popular issue in American politics, 70+% consensus in a country."
Yeah, I mean, it has all the support. We just have to make the phone calls, you know?
You got to make the phone calls.
Yeah,
send the letters, do the phone calls. They're all dinosaurs. If they get a phone call, they freak out, you know?
Right. Well, they got to get a lot of them, you know, like and there is like real recent proof about power and numbers, right? Because Kathy Hochul, I'm probably mispronouncing her name, but the governor of New York just paused data center development. She didn't do that because that's what her big check data money friends wanted. She did that because she got an inordinate amount of calls from her constituents, right? So we, the cannabis people, need to be providing our senator, our congressman, an inordinate amount of phone calls right now, because that's how, like you're saying, like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you know? So we need to be that squeaky wheel right now for seeds, for home grow, to save the Farm Bill, to save all the small businesses in hemp right now, because all of them are going to be washed away and it's going to go to big pharma, kids.
It's just, it gets lost in the boring. It gets lost in the, you know what I mean? Like it's
it's like people give up because it's such a struggle all the time. And we took the time, like in Ohio, we took the time to legalize cannabis, to regulate cannabis like alcohol, supposedly, right? But now our elected, who are supposed to represent the people, have arbitrarily clawed back a lot of our legal you know, things that we had put into place with the law that we passed by the people. They've taken away the social equity, which is almost 54 billion in tax revenue right now. And they put it back into the general fund when it should have been helping small business people that were disadvantaged. So our lawmakers aren't really representing us right now, and we need to vote them out. But we also need to call the people that are doing the stuff at the federal level, because that right now takes precedence over the fuckery in Ohio. You know, we'll be here to fight another day here if we can the save the federal
as well. And then the other thing that's really important is, like, I'm starting to get into like tissue culture and like making sure things are backed up in a way that's like, you know, volcano proof, you know. And so everyone, you know,
share your genetics with your friends. You're allowed to share your home grow. Get your home grow out there. Share it.
Oh yeah. Oh, trust me. We're all about that in this world. In the we do this event that the DGC Cup, And so every year we have, 500 people ascend down, 75 growers all compete, double blind, tasting. Everyone comes in and every single person in the event votes. And our winner last year, who got inducted into the DGC Hall of Fame, was Grow Fire Farms out of Ohio. And he won the hash event and finished second out of 70 in the flower event back to back. I was like, I had him on a few months ago, and the guy's just a beast. And so every single time, all in my chat, GMO was the
yeah.
And he had this old mother plant, and he's like, I wonder if I can get some life out of this mother plant. So he's decided to flower out this mother plant. He runs in 1 gallons and just fucking, turbo shotting it all the time. But and through my chat, I'll shout out Ohio Terp Queen. She's a legend in the community out here. Ohio Grows. He's always out here. Ohio Grow DGC is out here. It's full of Ohio. Ohio represents in the chat every single week, every single video. It's so throw it in chat, leave a comment. If you're in Ohio, what were you growing? What were your parents growing? What was the scene like in the Midwest? Because
I've been so down memory lane with this, looking into the G13, right? Because people are like, yeah, he had the G13 times haze, and we also had the Williams Wonder at the same time. Do you remember the Williams Wonder?
No.
That was in Ohio, it was around Ohio. It wasn't from here. And there was the bubble gum. So Indiana bubble gum. Here's another Afghan origin hash plant that came from that same Bloomington area around that same time that this dude, Carl Hilling, who is a botanist or whatever, was doing the study on mapping genomes of cannabis in 1993. And then bubblegum later got bought by one of the cannabis companies over in Holland. Like someone came here and bought the bubblegum from Indiana and took it back, which is also like cool Midwest varieties making trailblazing the world, and that Indiana gum was like real thick leaves, beautiful plant, a lot like the G13, where it had like real thick Afghan root looking.
And does that like come from like the TH Seeds bubble gum out of Amsterdam?
Done? I was trying to remember who bought it. I think it might have been Cincy Seeds. The people who later were Cincy Seeds that bought bubble gum from Indiana. And they were supposed to like get it, and nobody was supposed to have it. But people in Ohio already had it, So when they sold it to the seed bank in Holland, it was supposed to be like their exclusive thing, but it was already out of the bag around here. Several people had it. And then there was another variety of the gum that people just called the gum and not bubble gum. And it was like, it had more of a hybrid look to it, where it had like thinner leaves. And it smelled like fruit stripe gum, where like the bubble gum had a really nice like pink bubble gum smell, but it didn't have like the flavor that the gum had. The gum really tasted like gum, where like the original bubble gum more just smelled like gum. But
and then the Death Star, that was right on the tip of my tongue.
Death Star,
as I was thinking of the legendary ones. Thank you, B Master. What is right on the tip of my tongue is one of my favorite strains in the history of Earth.
Yeah, that's the only other one that you need. If you have the lemon and you have the Death Star, then you don't need anything else. You just don't.
That completes the Venn diagram of dang.
It does, right? Because you got your working weed, right? Because you got your sativa, and really the lemon's not even that sativa dominant. Like the early Misty was skunk Misty, so it had skunk, and then it had Northern Lights and White Widow would have been like the Misty's origin.
Okay, I was going to ask about the Misty.
Yeah, dude, you remember the Misty?
Do
you remember the Misty?
No.
If people that remember the Misty, they'll be like, oh yeah, because she was so good. Yeah,
it's funny how it's like it didn't cross the Mississippi. I was just up, not too far northwest of you guys. I'm in Iowa, and just certain things like the Death Star, sure as shit made it. The Lemon G, sure as shit made it. But no, the Misty, I don't think I ever had that.
Yeah, one. The Misty, that was earlier. It was like earlier in the game.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had an indoor room with that early Misty and a couple other things in there. And I don't think it was really that uncommon at the time. Most people grew from seed, like there weren't that many, like I didn't see anyone cloning anything until probably like 98, and then it was those guys in Kentucky. That was the first people I ever saw cloning anything. They were kind of ahead of their curve. And they were, mad clever, right? But they would grow the G13, but we would get the seeds from them. And their seed stock came from just their outdoor. They would like leave a male and they would have seeds in the plant near that male, and then we would grow those seeds. Like I said, I don't know where else they came from before that. And the way that we would sex them, we had like a bedroom, and then we had a flowering room. So the way that we would sex things is we would put them in the 12-12. And I don't think that's that uncommon. I know a lot of people that have done that. They're like,
that's
I do
the
that,
move.
right? And that's
now
how
there's all the
accidents
testing,
happen, right?
It's like you can test the leaf and all that stuff nowadays, but back in the day, you threw it in the 12-12. You looked.
Yeah, I mean, tests are like you got to take it somewhere. That seems like a lot of work when you could just like.
And this was
see what
back in those days. I mean, we're talking. This was like as they were sequencing the human genome. Like this stuff cost millions of dollars in the 90s, and then
right, and like who the hell are you gonna like? You can't send that off somewhere, and you're gonna give them your address. What? Like
which is why I love. I defend. I'm such a defender of legalization. I don't like a lot of people diss on it. It's like, oh, it's not perfect. Living here in Colorado, it's like, dude, it's perfect. It literally, it's just in the background. It's settled into like, there's the big corporate prices. There's the one location mom and pop. This ecosystems existed. It provides jobs to a lot of people entering the workforce here. It's been nothing but a force of good. And I get
saying
it,
we should all move to Colorado. No, I did lose some people to the green rush from our grow shop that moved there right after legalization.
I was one of those people. I watched all my grower friends getting busted, and so 2014, I was like, I'm out.
I lost a couple of good employees around 2014. But my buddy Grumpy, so Grumpy came into my life in the mid 90s. And we hung out and we lived together actually in Columbus, Ohio for a while. And this was right around the time that the lemon seeds accidentally happened, or it was like a little bit before that. But he moved to Colorado before they had legalization there, but he took the Lysol with him. He might have taken the lemon G with him. So the Lysol was some of the seeds. So we didn't know because we always had the G13 seeds and they were just like G13, right? Because they had similar parents, right? So the seeds that seeded our garden that the Skunk Misty and the G13 came from were really different seeds, or really different plants. So one of our friends from Kentucky was smart enough and he told us like, hey, you need to keep like 10 of the strongest females because they're going to be really different, and you might have one that you're going to keep later. So you need to keep all the females and then you need to flower them, and that's when we were learning about cloning. And it was the same people from Kentucky. So he was like, you got to keep this and then flower it and then see if it's going to be good or not, because it's going to be different. And if you don't, then you're going to have to re-veg it or you'll lose it, So we, kept a bunch of these plants and like all the really great looking ones were male because that's how it goes, but we weren't like thinking about any of it. We didn't keep any of the males, right? But we did keep like 6 females that were like really fucking nice looking. And one of them eventually became the Lysol and it smelled like like lemon pine saw, like it had this like
Yeah.
chemical smell along with the lemon, right? Anybody that's familiar with the G13, its smell and terps are really hard to define. It's like spicy, gasoline, rubber, sometimes citrusy and skunky, right? But it's like really almost like tree sap. There's a lot of different descriptions, like piney,
Yes.
So the
I'd say
G13,
that's
and
where
that's that weird
the
little
lo-
hash plant that was the pollen, and
yes.
then the seeds produced a variety of things, and the one of them that we kept was real shaggy, like the original G13 was, and it would not get you high. It was the
Really?
worst. We named it what? We had like numbers 1 through 6, right? But when it came to like getting them out to people and like trying to have people try them and shit, we named this one what, right? Because we thought we were like clever. It's the what? What? What is it? It's the what? This what won't get you high. What? Ah, right. So then
Who's on
everybody was
first?
mad at
Third
us. They
base.
thought that we were fucking with them because it wouldn't get them high and shit. We're like, fuck.
Ah.
So we got rid of the what after that. And then there was one that was like cat piss, but it wasn't like good cat piss. It was like, damn, you got to change that litter box. It was bad.
That
And
still
it
sounds
it
nice.
tasted bad too, though. Like it just tasted bad, and it really
Really?
didn't get you high. Like it was just weird. And then the Lysol and the lemon were both like taller, shaggier girls, right? And these girls more took after like the misty side of the plant,
Hmm.
So if you read about early Misty, if you learn about her, she's like a very citrusy, skunky, musty plant, So the lemon, I named it Lemon G because it was G13. It didn't really resemble it except for like its pain in the ass claw that it gets if it doesn't get enough calcium. It's bad
Yeah.
if you give it too much nitrogen because you think that's what it wants when it's like yellow and nothing else is yellow. Then it will
Uh,
like get the claw. It's not,
yeah.
it wants a lot of calcium. It wants a lot of silica, the lemon does, because she's just beast mode all the time, But it was the
It-
biggest, gnarliest one that smelled good. The other one that was gnarly as fuck and huge was that Lysol, right? And Grumpy liked it because he likes things that are grumpy, like Lysol instead of lemons,
It was like
But
the fork in the road of like one was a lemony, like tiny thing. When people kind of talk about lemons, I think they're talking about more of the Lysol sort of
they
herbs.
might
But
be,
when
yeah.
I
And
talk
if you
about
don't grow
lemon,
it long enough, it won't get sweet. It'll still be like more piney, tarry if you don't give it like the 11, 12 weeks that it wants, you know.
interesting. See, this is
But
what I said about I love knowing the people. I love meeting the people because like there's people in the chat that have offered me the lemon G, and I was gonna
mhm.
take them up on it, but I was just like, it's one of those things, the great honors in my work. I put in a lot of work in this cannabis media game, and one of the benefits that I love is getting to like meet the people that have the stories of like, I'm going to go back. I will be growing this plant eventually. I've been saying for a long time, I just want to grow 2 strains for the rest of my life, lemon G, and then maybe a GMO, and
And
then
the Death
someone that
Star,
in
that is the other
the
one.
audience. Well,
There's
Death
some
Star. I'll
sort of
take a
like
little.
really dank diesel that has like a good spice to it for a nightcap,
Oh,
you know?
it's the yeah. So when you're talking about all those different flavors, that's essentially just like different phenotypes, right? Like those are just different.
You know, I'm not a scientist,
No, well, of
clearly.
course. Yeah, no,
But
I
but yeah, I mean,
nor
there
am
was a
I.
lot of weird shit that came out of that original seed stock,
Yeah.
And but I did share it with a lot of people, and I'm glad that I did because we definitely would have lost it a couple of times, So again, share your home grow with your buddies. We're allowed to share our home grow under Ohio law. So if you ever come to Ohio, will share my lemon G with you, so, like here we are. I know
That's
Gabby
amazing.
has the lemon cuts on his website. If you're over on the Craft Growers Network, if you watch Gabby's podcast, it's like GabbySI.com. He has the lemon there, and the strawberry lemon too. Strawberry lemon G is like a new variety that's growing on me like a weed.
Oh,
So now I have it in my
interesting.
garden. So
That's right. And then got to follow on over on the Instagram. We as much as Meta is a pain in a lot of our butts, it's still one of the the
for
easy more
now it's
easily
our spot, I think, for
everyone's just like, go to Discord, and it's like, I love Discord, but it's just it's like a
I'm on
whole
a
like
few
secret
Discord
bunker.
channels. I'm
Yeah,
not
and
sure
I,
what
I
they
love
are.
Discord, but it's just like
Just different, like,
Instagram. You open it up, it's just
grower
pretty
networks.
pictures. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of nonsense, and there's less nonsense, we'll say, over there. But yeah, eventually they will lighten up there. And so what do you suspect was the culprit of the pollen? Was it
It was the
missing a
G13.
male?
It had to have been a male G13.
Yeah, no
Right.
chance of it
And
just
that's
like
where people are like, there
selfing
is no
itself.
male G13. It came from a research facility, and I know all about it, even though I wasn't there and I don't know anything about it. Because that's the way people are on the internet. Right. Like if you're kind of right, they want like fact. But if you're like, if it's a lie, they believe it immediately.
It wasn't there wasn't a such thing as record keeping until like
nor in
9/11
the
kind of was
studying
like
part. It's like, dude, if
we
I ask these guys where they get their G13 seeds, what do I want to know that for? Right?
yeah,
Like we lived in a
yes,
need to know world, right? Like I'm not going to arbitrarily
yes,
ask you a bunch of excess questions because that's not our culture and it's rude,
yes,
you know?
yes.
So,
Yes, it's yeah. Although I missed a lot of the fun of the of those days, I do. One of my favorite things about just being my age, just being 40, is I got to grow up before the internet. I got to fully just free range human, just untagged, roaming across the plains. And then right when I got older and matured to be able to deal with the internet in a more mature way, now I get to kind of like have the benefits of communicating and connecting and everything. And so it's definitely it was a different world back then. Trying to explain to people like there's a registrar of like everything now. Everything's on camera. Everything. Oh, I know the guy. He told me this thing. There's a blockchain level of it. Things get soft. You just get, I got it from a guy. That's why you have someone's out there doing the detective work, I'm sure, where you got to trace these leads down.
dude,
Gotta talk to you.
somebody
Now I
should
gotta
go
talk to
down
this
this
guy.
rabbit hole about the G13 and Carl Hilling and his connection to the Paul guy, Paul Manahorn, Paul something, who was one of the two people licensed to grow government weed, right? Because there may be, some substance there as far as the origin of the G13, which is one of those also mystery things, even to me, but I trace it back to the Pacific Northwest, right? Which is not Mississippi. The other reason why I think that it's weird that it's supposedly G13, which is a great weed, which is really heady and is very like high THC, like really heady weed, is that everybody I know who I know a couple of the people I've talked to that got the prescription for cannabis from the government. I've met this one guy at Art Basile who is living in Florida, and he fought the government. He sued them in the 80s to be one of those people that got government weed. And he said it was fucking terrible weed. They ship it to him in this tin can full of already rolled joints, right? It's like a round tin can full of joints with like your prescription on it. And it's like typed on an old typewriter and like stuck on there, and that's what he had. And he was like, this weed tastes like shit. but he would put his weed in there and be like, yeah, so like, how is G13 from some government lab when everything I know about their weed is shit? Right?
Yeah. So yeah, those people, for you youngins that don't know, it's like the University of Mississippi, right? They were the only people allowed to grow it, and they would ship it off in these containers to a handful of people who were grandfathered in and kind of sued their way in. And then there was like under a dozen of them.
Yeah, every one of them fought for their right to have medical cannabis during times of prohibition.
And so that's a cool story of like,
Yeah.
they send you this ditch weed. I'm just going to dump it out and re-roll these bastards.
Yeah, you know how pre-rolls go. It's like everything off the floor, right?
It was the original pre-roll. That was the original pre-roll. Not worth a shit.
So you know it was swag, right? So really, like the G13 came from that? What? I don't think so. Well, I think it came from Afghanistan. And so I read that whole article, right? And at one point there's all these charts going across, right? And it says AF4, right? Which stands for Afghanistan number 4, was this part of the study. And then it says G13, and then over on the source it said SB. And then later in the study from 1993, it says SB. When you look at what the little symbols mean, it says that it stands for Seed Bank of Holland, right? So that traces right back to Neville, who had the G13 times hash plant. The hash plant was from there. That was in their study too. I don't know. Can you post those pictures that I sent you earlier? Do you remember the slides? Because this shit's cool. I don't know if I sent it to you on your message on your phone. I think like these are slides that somebody sent to me from 1993 from Bloomington, Indiana, of the G13, and it's got wide ass leaves and little ass chunky buds, right? Which was the same one that we had in Ohio, that I think they had in Kentucky that whole time also, from before when we even had it.
Well, even as you're talking, all I can think is like, it's Afghani. It's an Afghan that doesn't.
It is.
Afghanistan in the 80s doesn't lessen the CIA. It's the story,
Well,
it's like,
so I've been talking with this veteran,
they were over
right?
there conducting business.
Yeah. Well, we sent a lot of people to war all over there, right? Afghanistan. Some of them were on the border of Pakistan. We sent people to Vietnam.
Time, the Soviets were fighting in Afghanistan, and we were sending agencies over there to manipulate things how we wanted. So those exact humans who allegedly might have been the proprietors of that strain were in that neighborhood in that era, conducting shady affairs.
Right.
Not for nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're just speculating.
I think we are underestimating
purposes, y'all.
We're undervaluing right now in our storytelling of like where all of the cannabis comes from that ended up here, that became like these legacy strands here. We're underestimating the role of military servicemen coming back from there in bringing these genetics here. Right. And I say this because one of the people in Kentucky and one of the people from Southwest Ohio that are like, veterans have explained to me that they have these massive seed banks that they would, one of them was like, yeah, I would trade people joints or bud for their sack of seeds when we were over there, and I would meticulously label all of where these seeds were from, and I would smuggle them back here after my term had ended, and I still have them now. Or, my brother's cousins owned that shop in Trinity where everybody shopped for their grow supplies, and they're actually from Kentucky, right? So the Trinity grow shop in the middle of the Emerald Triangle in California was owned by 2 men in Kentucky right? I don't know, you're a little young for the Cornbread Mafia stories, but there was like this group of Kentuckians, like hardcore, clever people who were medicine to the people and made their living in the growing trade, had like networked out in all these different states. Eventually they got busted, you know, and I know a couple of them that did like a decade, you know, as a prisoner of war for cannabis here, being held in our government and prisons, convicted of providing medicine to the people or crossing state lines, being the road warriors that we were. You know, that people, you know, they don't always remember, I think, or keep in mind that legacy genetics and the road warriors and all the people who did do time, we wouldn't be here without them, you know.
This is the truth,
and a lot of them served in the military and came back here.
Well, and that tradition has continued. I mean, the community of cannabis that we have throughout the forums, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, all of the different worlds that we have. And shout out to the old forums back in the day, IC Mag, you know, all the old schoolers that were out there. All of this community, it is a veteran heavy community. It's a group of people who kind of know what's right. You know, damned if they're going to be told what's right or wrong. They know what's right. They're going to do what's right. They're hard workers. They know how to keep their mouth shut. They know how to, or you know what I mean? It's just,
well, like the outlaw mentality as it relates to cannabis is that clearly this plant has medicinal value, right? All of you guys that were subject to the DARE program and the war on drugs, you know, and then you do finally get a hold of cannabis and you're like, what in the fuck are they talking about? You know, because they present it as like, you know, some crazy trip or some like deep hole, when really it's an enlightenment and it's a benefit to your life, you know, and it, you know, like, I don't need to stand on the soapbox and choir preach about cannabis, but you know, like it's not what they presented it to be, and it is really valuable to a lot of people. You know.
And right now the tide is pulling back. That you can feel there's a shift. Big money's coming in. There's a lot of gravity. The tide is pulling back, and everyone just keep your chin up. You know, we're gonna fight our way through this, and
we need to.
There's going to be a place.
There's another thing that we could be doing, like 2 days ago, maybe 3, on July 16th. I think it was Friday. Well, the Congress introduced another descheduling act, and it was introduced by Cory Booker, but it also had some Republican support. It was like a bipartisan descheduling bill, which would remove cannabis completely from the you know, scheduled controlled substances altogether, and then those guys could go ahead and like reschedule medicinal cannabis as Schedule 3 if they want to have like a pharmaceutical time or whatever, you know, but that would preserve the plant to us as a descheduled plant. And it would preserve all of the jobs and the small businesses that are going to be impacted from the farm bill being locked down if we could just deschedule cannabis, because hemp would be included in that. So when you call your congressman and you tell them that you need seeds and home grow protected and preserved, please tell them that you support descheduling, because that did just get introduced. So I meant to write down the name of it before our podcast, but I was in the rabbit hole about the G13 from 1993. And the study, I just was blown away that they were doing the study that was sponsored by one of the seed banks in Holland in Bloomington, Indiana in 93, right? Because I thought the only place that cannabis was really being studied or represented in the States was in Mississippi. But it turns out that's just where they were growing all the swag for the tins full of the pre-rolls.
So interesting. This is opened up like a river. where I entered a river mouth of Lemon G, and we open up to a million tributaries of interesting things we could talk about for
Right.
hours.
Well, I mean,
So
like it all came from somewhere, and it's all puzzle pieces of like the plant that we love and where we're at.
well, this is why you guys got to go over, follow Craft Growers Network, and these stories. Like I said, I saw you on there with P Bud. He's one of my favorite guys.
Right on.
The story of the Chem D. It's like, oh, was the
Yeah.
Chem diesel? It's like, no, we labeled cups and everything died but the D. And you go, whoa, how is that not common knowledge? How does it? Why does every butt tender in America go, oh, it's Chem diesel? It's not Chem
Right.
diesel. I got a
Chem
story for
dog.
you. So
Yeah.
this was an awesome freaking story, and I
Right
support
on.
everything you're doing. And let's
Thank
talk
you.
again sometime soon. We've
Yeah, for sure.
soared past an hour, and
Oh, wow.
this was
Yeah.
easy. I told you, I was like, this is gonna be easy, and
Yeah.
it was easier than even expected.
All right, dude. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, we did it. We crossed an hour once again. You gotta go over Craft Growers Network. Follow those guys right here on YouTube. That's an easy ask. And for those, I know not everybody does the Instagram, but you can go follow her over there, Sarah Koya on Instagram, and it's worth it. She posts all the beautiful nug photos. I can't wait to find my way to the deliciousness, the 5x5. Shout out to I would say we have the 5x5 set up over at the Church of Cannabis. Nate, the Super Troopers, we're at the Church of Cannabis this weekend. How did no one tell me? What? I literally texted Nate. I texted him like right before the show started. I was like, what the hell? The Broken Lizard crew rolled through the Church of Cannabis? Like, what the hell, bro? Those are my dogs. So shout out to the Church of Cannabis guys here in Cannabis. They're illegal. They sued the government. They won, and we are the elevationists. And holy shit, the fuck! So I thought Cortez. The Super Troopers oversaw a wedding at the Church of Cannabis, and I was like, we beat the Super Troopers. I oversaw Cortez the Conqueror and Mrs. Cortez's wedding at the International Church of Cannabis. Lots of pictures over there on Instagram. Follow at Josh Grambo on Instagram. You can see the pictures of me as the Reverend Josh Grambo overseeing a beautiful wedding. So thank you guys. This was amazing. So make sure, yes, you can make a difference in this world. Don't get it twisted. It's just like firing off an email or like liking a post on social media or sharing a post on social media. That's not exactly the way things get done. You gotta go to the old school technology. If you make a phone call, send a letter, those things actually kind of move the needle still. The old guard is dying off, and the millennials are taking over the world slowly but surely. So stay strong. We're gonna get past this can apocalypse. Just keep your nose clean. Don't trust anybody that's over 35. And what was it? I can't remember. Shout out to I was thinking on this 4th of July, I was like Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused was the 200-year anniversary, 1976. And then we had the 250th. And I felt very much Dazed and Confused vibes on that. So hell yeah, y'all. So I love you guys. Big shout out, LJ Jones, the godfather of the GramBorg. Guys, we do a post show on here. It's a powwow between me and the GramBorg. It's $5 a month. You come on, support the show in the can apocalypse. Things are changing. Things are going to be changing. I hate to say it. Things are going to be changing. I don't know. Things are changing. You see it. I know what it is. But thank you. Keeping me a little bit of extra fuel in the gas tank as we go along here. And LJ Jones has been the biggest supporter of the GramBorg. And right behind, has to be in second, is the Borg themselves of the Bad River family out there, Bad River Farms, Mr. Sparkle. Thank you, my friend. Dropping the 5 gift subs each. Welcome the new 10 members of the GramBorg. Oh my God. I popped a little bit, I go, I'm here, I'm doing the double screen, and then all of a sudden it's like full screen over there. And, maybe I took a little bit of edibles, maybe I didn't, it's none of y'all's business, but just say that this new batch, man, extract seller, menu menu/extract seller and other dot letters, and you type that in. You can get what I get, and the chat will tell you it's a good time. Yeah, I get the pink raccoon eyes. I get, like, people always know I'm hot. Like, literally, I walk into the bakery up in Fort Collins, and the dude grows. Scott will be like, "Grambo, you okay?" I go, "You know it, baby. Let's fucking launch. Let's launch. Going live. I love being live. Let's get high and go live." That's what it is. Hey, Van Island, still here for 9 months. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it so much. So thank you, Bad River Farms, Mr. Sparkles, LJ Jones. Thank you for everything. And, thank you, LJ Jones, for, like, things I keep right here. LJ Jones gave me this. Remember when you wanted what you currently have. What do you have right now that you wanted, that maybe you don't appreciate every single night before bed, but you can look at your life and go, man, I have that thing. Is it your kid, your partner, your job, your grow? What is it? Leave a comment. My name's Josh Grambo. This is Grambo Grows. And smoke that like button. Subscribe if you vibe. And you see that share button? Roll this video up and pass it to a friend, because sharing is caring. And I will see you guys Tuesday for the Jug Dealers, Wednesday for the Dude Grow Show, and we'll do it all again next Sunday for another episode of the Late Night Smoke. Love y'all.
He's the man with the can with the punchline grin, shred licks lit while the grow lights spin. From Dude Grows to Jug Dealers rides, he's mixing jokes, chords, and cultivation guides. And it's clean, green screens tight, and that theme song hits just right at night. Comedian, grower, and vibe technician, Grambo's the go on a ganja mission. Cannabis vibe all around this place, with the riff that burns and a beat with bass. From the buds to the labs to the grow room glow, we salute Josh Grambo. Everybody knows, blaze it loud, pass it loud, let the good times roll. Tell a friend, roll it up, that's how we grow. He's the man who does it all, shred a sage and scene, the ordained OG of the cannabis dream. Click play on the channel, hear Cannabis vibe. Theme song thumping like a session come alive. Shout out to the artist who composed that gold. GRAMBO brings warmth even when the grow room's cold. High def laughs keep the whole crew alive. Gives love to the ones who help his art thrive. And now he's ordained, yeah, the holy stoner. Tie the knot while he rips out sweet leaf in the nose. Blaze it loud, pass it loud, let the good times roll. Tell a friend, roll it up, that's how we grow. He's the man who does it all, shred a sage and scene, the ordained OG of the cannabis dream. Click play on the channel, hear Cannabis vibe. Theme song thumping like a session come alive. Shout out to the artist who composed that gold. GRAMBO brings warmth even when the grow room's cold. High def laughs keep the whole crew alive. Gives love to the ones who help his art thrive. And now he's ordained, yeah, the holy stoner. Tie the knot while he rips out sweet leaf in the corner. Do you take this trade to be your lifelong high? He'll bless your bud for your vows, folks.